Men behind the curtain podcast.
Hello and welcome to Men Behind the Curtain, the podcast about everything and nothing all at once. And as somebody has told me, the podcast that your parents warned you about. I am Pitt.
I'm Eli. How's it going, y'all?
S-
My Brownies finally got another win today.
Oh, they actually beat Baltimore?
20. The last I saw was 23 tied at like 2 minutes left. I'm in the car. I check the score, and it's 24-29. I'm like, Jesus fuck. But since he got their ass whooped.
Oh, well, yeah, and which makes me happy. But that, we play, Steelers play tomorrow night, on Monday. So, and the Giants. So that should help us out a bit, hopefully. But no, I didn't. I last I saw the Browns were down by like 1 with like a matter of seconds left on the game.
So yeah, you said it was a few seconds left. So I'm guessing when I saw it 23-23, Baltimore had probably just scored and hadn't kicked the extra point yet. That's probably the only way that it was tied up when I checked.
Okay. But yeah. Way to go, Browns. See, you don't need Deshaun Watson after all.
The fucked up thing is that I feel like this is why management's the way it is. I've said this before, that they think that they treat the franchise like it's a fucking major league movie to where they can just throw people together and somehow get wins. And like 90% of the time, we're like, that's not reality. That doesn't fucking work. And now we have a win with the fucking starting QB hurt. Like, this did not help my argument at all.
No, it did not. Well, Baker Mayfield keeps tearing shit up in Tampa Bay. It's got to be the Zin, man. It's got to be the Zin.
They fucked up so bad in letting Baker Mayfield go, because I'm like, y'all were so upset with him for the last season he was there, but for how hurt he had a great fucking season.
Yeah.
Like, he had a bad leg, he had a bad shoulder.
And he had some of the best car insurance commercials that, you could ask.
He did. I remember those. Those commercials were really good. I do remember that. And they kept thinking like, this was the guy. And he should have been the guy. And it's like, for fuck's sake, please, just leave it alone. Even if they suck, just leave it alone. Like, let them gel, let them get to know each other, and then you will get some wins.
Yeah. But switch gears before we get to the catastrophe, since we're speaking about dumbasses. Did you hear the latest from Fucker Gnarlson?
No. And I love that we're using that name. Actually, I might have heard it and I just didn't. It's probably not off the top of my head. So what happened now?
So you heard about the where he was the speaker at a Trump rally in Georgia, like Wednesday.
Yeah. Actually,
where he referred to the American public as a 2-year-old smearing the contents of his diapers on the wall.
Yes. Oh my God, I did hear about that. That was the creepiest fucking thing. Like, well, now Daddy's coming home. Like,
yeah. So I'm going to read this verbatim. So this is actual quotes of what Fucker Gnarlson said. A hormone-addled 15-year-old girl slamming the door and giving you the finger. There has to be a point at which Dad comes home. Dad comes home and he's pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them because they're his children. And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're going to get a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not going to lie. It's going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. You earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl, and it has to be this way. Okay, let's unwrap this. For one, dripping with misogyny, because the worst part is when fucking Donnie Boy, the orange crumpet, took the fucking stage, the crowd started chanting, "Daddy's home." Okay, so apparently several people in the crowd need fucking spanked. Beyond that point, okay, so we're dripping with misogyny. It's a 15-year-old girl. Okay, so we automatically go to girl. And vigorous spanking, I'm sorry. When I've disciplined my children, I've never done a vigorous spanking. Actually, I don't think I've ever done a spanking. It was more psychological warfare, for lack of a better term, when it came to discipline. But in unwrapping this whole thing, we look at just the first off, why does it have to be a girl? Why can't it be a 15-year-old boy? Why did it have to choose a girl? So we see the misogyny dripping right there. But the fact that he just kept going on and on about it, it's like, the fuck, dude?
And spanking your 15-year-old daughter, that's not a little sus to y'all? Like, ew.
Yeah. You know, there comes a time when physical discipline, and I'm not going to say that sometimes there isn't a need for a spanking across the ass. I don't know how many wooden spoons my ass has broke through my entire lifetime. You know, I've got spanked pretty much up until the point where spanking was no longer a punishment and it was a laughable discipline given to me. You know, my dad, yes, he's the one who spanked me. My mother was a psychological one. I remember running around the living room and the dining room and the kitchen, big circle, big circle. She could not catch me. So she grabs this big bag of cheese puffs and she swings and hits me with the cheese puffs. And the bag explodes, goes all over the kitchen, the dining room, and everywhere. That was not my punishment. My punishment was when she took the trash can from the kitchen and put it by the front door some 20 feet away and maybe pick up every single one of those cheese poofs individually and walk them to the trash can to throw them away. That's punishment.
Yeah. And like me personally, depending how old you are at the time, like the whole time I'd be fucking worried that my mom's about to pop me when I'm not paying attention. So, but actually part of what you just reminded me of. So I'm going to show something real quick. So there's this one dude that I follow on TikTok. He goes by Mr. Jones. That's actually where I got the Joseph Biggs bit that I did last
Jones.
time. But now he has a store where he does sell merchandise. So he's the one who gave me the idea. Now, what I'm about to show isn't his shirt, but it's close to his shirt. So, hang on one second here. I'm not going to lie. I kind of want this shirt.
Oh, I love it.
Now, the one that Jones has on his website actually has her name on the Clorox logo, and it says Orange Stain Remover. Like, I was so fucking close to buying that shirt. If he still has it available, I still might. Well, yeah, I mean, election season's just about over, so maybe not.
You know what? I'd wear it anyway. I'd wear it around because, I mean, think about it. The Clorox, the orange stain remover, you can wear that for years.
Right.
But speaking, what's funny about that is I took my middle daughter, Rose, to Joanne Fabrics this morning. And as we were coming out, we were getting, and there was a sign in the back of the car, one of those decals, and it says, "Cat Ladies for Kamala." And it just took me back, and that's when I remembered, fucker Gnarlson and his stupid speech and whatnot. So, hey, fucker, fuck you, asshole. You are the fucking cum chuck cunt of the week.
And I will go to my grave confused how I still see people who will take Fox News as gospel, because Fox News tried to get out of the lawsuit by throwing him under the bus and saying that we are news entertainment and a logical, reasonable person should not take us seriously.
You know,
they said this about themselves.
The Onion is news entertainment. Weekend Update is news entertainment. The Daily Show, for fuck's sake, is news entertainment.
I remember, I will never forget this. There was a poll done. This was years ago, back when O'Reilly was still on the air. Jon Stewart's viewers actually polled to be more informed than Bill O'Reilly's.
No, that does not surprise me one bit. I mean, first off, talking about Jon Stewart, he was a great comedian and stuff like that, great actor, whatnot. However, his ability to take the national news or even international news and put it at the forefront and actually explain what's going on and deliver it in a way that is, consumable and understandable, because it's not like he's fucking shining it up, making it difficult to understand like your fucking election ballots. He's actually breaking it down to a point where people can actually understand it. And when you get to the basic, the meat and the bones of the whole thing, it's like a lot of the stuff he's talking about, the things that he's bagging on. It's like, what the fuck were these people thinking when they put this into place? And that's one great thing that Jon Stewart does. And I almost said John Oliver because he does the same thing too on this week tonight or last week tonight. But the thing is, and they come out of that same foray, because that's actually where John Oliver started going, was on the Daily Show. But it's one of those things that when a satirical news program starts becoming a better source and more reliable source of news, that's a problem for other media companies.
So I'm sure you know this, or I'm sure you've seen this already, but you realize that Jon Stewart is actually kind of Tucker Carlson's like villain origin story, right? So for any of y'all who are not aware of this, there's a video. This was like, God, 15, 20 years ago. This was when Jon Stewart was like new on the Daily Show. He had no gray hair, we'll put it that way. And Tucker Carlson at the time was on CNN. It was a show called Crossfire. And it was always supposed to have one conservative, go figure who it was, and one liberal perspective. And the term Crossfire came from, they would just have differing views. Well, one time, so they invited Jon Stewart on there, and he took Tucker to the fucking woodshed. And he even got bitchy about it at one point. It's like, you're a comedian. I thought you were supposed to be fun. Like, and he flamed him for being a grown man wearing a bow tie.
It only works for Bill Nye.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Unless you're wearing a tux. Unless you're wearing a tux. I mean, maybe that.
So, all right, Bill Nye and James Bond.
Well, I was thinking about a tux because I just saw the episode of The Office the other day where Jim was wearing a tux into the office. And
yeah,
what I love about it, I knew, because The Office is one of those shows. They have so many weird one-off scenes and plot lines that if you randomly pick it up, you don't know what is actually happening. You don't know what the episode is about. However, when I saw Jim in the opening scene with the fucking combed, clean hair and the tux, I'm like, oh shit, this is the one where Idris Elba got introduced. That he immediately didn't like Jim for that reason.
Yeah, and Idris Elba would make a great James Bond. Just say.
He would, and it kind of saddens me that he said he actually doesn't care anymore.
No, and I totally understand why. I mean, because all the politicking goes in behind it. However, phenomenal actor, very talented. Honestly, I think the man could probably play any role he wants. Honestly, they could probably cast him in an Ian McKellen biopic, and Idris Elba would be fucking great.
Let's be honest. We all actually thought he was from Baltimore at first.
Yeah.
Stringer Bell.
Okay. So for all my friends who happen to be in Europe or South America, anywhere, even if you're in Asia, please tell us, why is it that Australians and those from Europe can do American accents better than Americans? I
have a theory about that. And it's basically that I think we as Americans, and there are some exceptions, but I think on the whole, we just don't take it seriously as an art. Whereas, especially in England, you think back to, bards and everything. storytelling is something they've done for like I think literally thousands of years, if not hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So it means something to them. For us, like Hollywood fucking glamorized it, and now nobody gives a fuck.
No, and I can understand that, and as a voice actor too, that's something that I really want to know because we work with a great cast on Falmouth and everything, and some of the accents I'm being I don't just lost his name, but pulled out probably one of the greatest Jason Statham impersonations that I ever heard during that table read.
Oh, you did get a chance to hear that then?
Yeah.
Ah, shit. Let me see. It's not Josh. Josh has such a creepy fucking voice that he does. Like it really does make your skin crawl. Let me see if I can figure. Let me look who all's in there. Let's see. It might be Sylvie. Let me see. It might be Sylvie. I'm not sure. I think it might be them. But yeah, no, that because that's where it came up when I brought up the whole thing about the that Godfrey impression. Which, by the way, if y'all don't remember me talking about that, I linked it in the last week's video. I think it was.
I believe it was.
But yeah, that was fucking hysterical.
But yeah, no. So it's just one of those things. Like I can pull off like a basic European accent. Kind of from England, but it's a bastardized version of like Welsh and London and whatnot. Just your typical, this what basically the English accents that you hear in video games.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get like, I'm not going to have like a specific regional accent. I mean, there's a lot of things that, this is what you have speech coaches and language coaches for and stuff like that to help you fine tune a Liverpool accent over a London accent over a Welsh accent. So it's one of those things like, because there's just like, just even like in Ohio, you have subtle differences in the way people speak from, Northeast Ohio, Southwest Ohio, Southeast Ohio to Northwest Ohio to even the Columbus area. Everybody's got their own different dialects. So it's one of those things that it's like, yes, for us Ohioans, it's much easier to go back and forth is because we are so blended with other people from Ohio. I know my accent has slightly changed from my Northeast Ohio accent, Western Pennsylvania accent when I've been down here for almost 20 years. So it has changed slightly. But it's one of those things, you go to Western Pennsylvania, there's a slight variation. You go to Indiana, there's a variation. Hell, just 35, 40 minutes down the road in Kentucky. I mean, it changes over. It's like, you feel like you stepped off the bus into Deliverance sometimes.
Yeah. And again, I've mentioned this before. Our assistant director, Jackie, which is also playing, I think her role is still undisclosed, like her primary role.
Yeah, that I don't think that's coming out until it actually happens. Which is cool.
Yeah. I like that. Even though I'm part of the cast, I like still having a couple surprises in store. I'm cool with that. Jackie has done a lot trying to help me find a more Cajun accent. I don't think that I'm hitting a spot on Cajun accent, but I think I'm getting a passable Cajun accent. So,
what was the name of the character in Waterboy? The Cajun guy.
Oh,
no,
shit.
Hi.
No, actually, you know what that reminds me of? I didn't even clock this when I was until very, very recently. So everybody knows the part with Channing Tatum as Gambit, especially that particular scene. Like, how long I've been waiting for this? Whoa, I'm about to make a name for myself here. That sounds dead on like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. And I'm like I started hearing that I'm doing it in my head and I just heard Boomhauer, and then then I start thinking about any Boomhauer dialogue that I can remember because most of it's completely unintelligible, but I'm like, it's the same fucking dialogue.
Well, it's a good thing it wasn't the same script writers because that would have been really awkward. So
I will say I found something online one time. basically they took a drawing of Boomhauer from King of the Hill and they put Gambit on the Gambit clothes on him. And I'm like, yeah, that works.
Nice. All right. We got time for the catastrophe.
All right.
I was told that there has been more thrown inside the anus, so. Oh, we're about to piss some people off.
Oh,
and
goody.
I love it. Religion.
Just the word religion, nothing else.
It just says religion. Does not say a specific one. Does not say how you feel about the word religion, or does not say how you feel particular about religion. So I'm going to modify it slightly to say organized and what is streamlined religion as we know it.
So first and foremost, I'm not going to tell the entire story. I used to be involved in church. I was heavily involved in church. I actually even went on a missions trip when I was 14 to Jamaica. Beautiful fucking country. So that's kind of my background. And then, like, as I got older, I just kind of got away from it. There were certain things back then that just didn't add up and didn't make sense to me then. And honestly, the more I've actually analyzed it, like, shit just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't really follow any one particular thing. I think most of it is the organization of it. I think most of it is just fucking garbage. I think it's a control mechanism. I also want to say that the majority of the fucking conflict that we have. So I want to point out. So they are called Abrahamic religions for a fucking reason. We can all agree that Judaism and Christianity are basically cousins because Jesus is pretty much the breaking point. But the thing is that Islam was founded by one of Abraham's other children. So, in all three religions, and of course we're talking about the major religions because there's a ton others in the world, all three of these major religions all claim to worship the God of Abraham. So effectively, these are three fucking children fighting to see who's their dad's favorite. That's all the fuck it is. It's fucking stupid. And I'm not even going to go into the whole Israel-Gaza thing because I'm actually dangerously close to that conversation right now. I'm just going to say I'm in favor of not killing innocent people. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Here. No, I completely agree. Leave innocent. Here's my thing. I don't think we should be killing anybody, regardless, innocent, guilty, or whatnot. This is where we start getting, into different political things and, laws with, death penalties and whatnot. We're not going to go there because that's an entirely different podcast for an entirely, multiple seasons. So if you're out there and want to start a podcast, there's your topic. Go for it. We pretty much know where I stand on religion. I was raised Catholic, no longer Catholic. I practice Norse paganism because those are the gods that speak to me. Here's the thing. I actually do have a degree in philosophy and religion as well. And here is where we get to the nitty gritty. You see, Judaism, which was basically the precursor for Christianity, Judaism actually stole their god from the Canaanite pantheon, from a pagan belief system. You see, the head of the Canaanite pantheon's name was El. And what had happened is during that time, you had tribes that would just war against each other because the gods weren't the same. So you would have one pantheon's followers attacking another tribe to gain what they needed because it was a religious thing. And apparently all wars begin with religion. So what had happened is one tribe started getting fed up with being attacked constantly. So what they did is they adopted El, the head of the Canaanite pantheon. However, that tribe that adopted him was monotheistic, meaning they only worshipped one god. Therefore, they pluralized his name into Elohim, meaning gods. Therefore, they would not be attacked as much. If you don't like it, you Christians have a song about it called El Shaddai, meaning God is good or God Almighty. Okay, look it up. The facts are there. I'm not going to go into it. I'm off the soapbox.
One thing I was a little bit surprised about. So I've always had an interest in a lot of the ancient mythologies. Of course, I've mentioned Greek. Greek is the one I'm more versed in, mostly because my mom got me watching Xena when I was a kid. Um, we did
Yeah,
watch a
that
little bit.
I would be interested in Greek mythology too if I was watching Xena as well. Lucy Lawless and Renee O'Connor.
Look, I first of all, I was watching Xena at a time when I was like 12, 13 years old, which was probably the worst time for my mom to put the fucking show on in front of me. But now I always say this. So I am from a generation where a lot of us will identify the Pink Ranger Kimberly as our first crush. And I'm not one of them, but it's not the same. So when Kimberly was my crush, I didn't know what the fuck you do with a girlfriend. Like, well, I'll hold her hand, I guess. I don't know. Now, when I had a crush on Lucy Lawless, I knew exactly what the fuck I wanted to do.
Probably the same thing we all wanted to do.
And then I discovered that she was in Spartacus.
Yeah.
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 We're going to leave that conversation right there. But
thank you, Lucy. We love you.
yes. But where I was going with that is I didn't realize that the Greeks stole their whole fucking pantheon from Egypt.
Oh. Yeah, well, the funny thing is I believe through all the different pantheons, I think they're basically all the same gods, but just different names.
Obviously, Greek and Roman is 100%.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
Maybe
fu-
this is why Kevin Sorbo is such a fucking twat waffle now.
Did I tell you how this is a really funny reflection of how his career trajectory? So, of course, he came to fame, in the Hercules series, which, but, and then we all
Troll
know
the
how,
Conqueror.
and then we all know how The Rock did a Hercules movie, which actually was not bad.
No, that was
And
actually pretty decent.
I actually really liked how it's the main thing about his public persona is that his friend in the TV show is Aeolus, but in the movie it said Aeolus, which is probably more accurate considering the spelling. Aeolus was a bard who was dramatizing Hercules' adventures and made him into a demigod, which I thought was a really cool twist on the lore. But what I like about it, so where I was going as far as the trajectory, so I didn't know this until like 2 years ago. You remember one of the first movies The Rock did, Walking Tall?
Yeah. God. Yeah, I remember it. Long time
Did
ago.
Did you know that Kevin Sorbo took the role in 2 sequels? He
I didn't
took
even know there were 2 sequels.
I think the first one came out in like 2007. I don't remember when the other one came out, probably 2009, something like that. I just learned of these movies' existence like a year and a half ago. And I felt like the fact that they literally switched roles, they completely swapped roles. And you see what happened with that. And I'm like, that perfectly reflects his Hollywood career.
All right, we're going to get off the religion and not just a bag on Christianity and Judaism and whatnot, because Scientology is fucking dumb too. Anyway, so
one thing I'll say, because you brought up Scientology.
Okay.
It was a radio show I heard a while back. I love this joke. I will never let this joke go. Scientology is the only religion that has a photograph of its founder.
Oh, so we're gonna move on with that one. Karaoke.
Okay. Honestly, I need to get out and go again. It even came up. We were at a little after hours work thing. I have a fucking blast with it. The part that where I have the most fun with karaoke is that I don't know what I'm going to do until about 5 minutes before I go up there. I just say, put me on the list.
Yeah.
And for those of y'all who haven't been with us, and if I've never talked to you about this, I do like a whole fucking litany of different things. You would be surprised at how much the crowd enjoys Puddle of Mud, She Hates Me. I was shocked at how much they got into that. I've done fucking Bruno Mars. I've done Usher. I've done Three Doors Down. I really like doing Three Doors Down. Shine Down. Um, fucking. I love doing the Chris Brown. Look at me now. Like that's kind of my
Yeah.
party trick because I love it because when I hit Busta Rhymes verse, the whole fucking bar goes dead silent. I love that part.
Yeah, let's see. I've been karaokeing. Is that even a fucking word, karaoke? Such sounds weird to say. So I've done karaoke for over 32 years now. Absolutely love it. I go up there. I just love to entertain and perform. I don't really care if I sound good or not. But I think it's very entertaining when you have a guy my size that gets up behind the microphone and starts busting out Britney Spears or Whitney Houston or Lady Gaga, Carly Rae Jepsen, Pink, with the occasional rock song maybe thrown in. It all depends on how the crowd's going because I will bust out Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me, the stripper anthem, and, just go to town and get the crowd going. And for me, it's all about entertaining and just making people feel good and have fun. So,
And of course, for those of y'all who don't know this, we have a signature one that we've done together as Lincoln Park in the end. I'll do Shinoda's part, he does Chester's part. And we have a fucking blast. One time for his birthday, he got fucking hammered and we did Tenacious D tribute, which it was all going good, and then we get to the scatting part that and I kind of fell apart because I didn't know how to fucking go about doing that on the spot. But
I swear to God that we never did it until I saw the video. I don't recall doing the scat part. Don't remember that at all. I got off the stage afterwards and was like, the scat part wasn't in there. I'm so I was literally depressed because it's like the scat part wasn't in there. That's the whole fucking song. And
so I know I was actually really disappointed one time because so I went up there, I did Weird Al Yankovic's Fat, and he doesn't actually have the legit version. The version he has like cuts lines out and shit. So I'm up here, I'm ready to do the whole fucking thing, and then he didn't have it. And of course, Kaz's friend, Alexis, I believe it was.
yep. Oh,
I know.
I had a guest visitor just jumped on the back of the chair.
I saw him. And then Kaz's friend, I think it was Alexis, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
When my hair was long, she wanted me to do You're Welcome. I learned the fucking song. I even learned the Rock's little mini rap at the end there. And then the DJ didn't fucking have it. Now, before any of y'all say, well, of course you didn't have it, it's a Disney show tune. He had I'll Make a Man Out of You.
Yes.
So I'm like, which is actually a really good one too.
All right. Oh, I think we're on the same side with this one. Mosquitoes.
Oh, fuck them. Actually, it was funny. I popped into Corey's podcast about a month ago, and somehow mosquitoes came up as part of the conversation. One dude, I think it was Josh, like he was guest appearing, and he's like, I know everything is supposed to have a purpose, but I don't give a fuck. You can wipe all mosquitoes out. I don't see any point to them. And I chimed in the comments. I'm like, so there's one positive that we got out of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes happen to be the vehicle to Jurassic Park because that is how they got blood to clone them.
Well, the interesting thing about that mosquito, it's like the African bull mosquito or something like that, doesn't actually even suck blood.
Well, fuck.
So the mosquito that they actually have in the amber on Hannah's Hammond's cane on Hammond's cane isn't actually a mosquito that sucks blood. I think it's a male mosquito that's inside of that amber, and it's like an African bull or something like that. And the male African bull mosquito does not suck blood.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
However, I'm going to take this conspiracy theory even one step farther. You never see or hear anything about, his niece and nephew's parents or anything like that, or anybody. They have the cloning technology. How do we not know those kids were not they were not clones of John Hammond.
That's a fair point. Like they never really talk about that. You would think that would have came up. Um, and actually, one thing I'm going to say, just going on a tangent here because we're talking about Jurassic Park. So I still have not seen the newest one, Jurassic World Dominion. I heard it wasn't good, which I can believe that because Fallen World was just okay. Jurassic World I loved though. The reboot, not reboot, but like the new trilogy.
Yeah.
But here's the one thing I was waiting on and it never fucking happened is that dinosaur that they created, the all white one, Indominus Rex.
Yes.
I was waiting the entire fucking movie for them to say that this had human DNA in it, and they never did. And the reason why I believe he had human DNA in it was because of something they established in Jurassic Park 2. After the T-Rex, because remember the bald dude is hunting the T-Rex, he wants it as a trophy. They said like, well, the T-Rex just fed, he's not going to be hunting for a little bit. And some dude in the back, yeah, only humans do that. And the Indominus Rex was hunting for sport. So I was waiting the entire fucking movie. I think the only thing that they confirmed was raptor DNA, which that makes sense. You could see that in the behavior. But I was waiting the whole fucking time for them to say human, and it never happened.
No, but I think you're onto something there, and I think it's a missed opportunity in the franchise to actually pull that out there. But going back to mosquitoes, they suck, literally.
Right. That is the one time that I enjoy about this time of year when it gets fall, it gets colder and everything, is all the bugs go back to hell where they belong.
Which brings up our last one. Perfect segue. Since we're coming into Samhain, All Saints Day, and Dia de los Muertos, I can't really say that. So, Day of the Dead. This will air on All Saints Day, right in between Samhain, Halloween for those of you who are American, and Day of the Dead, spooky season.
Honestly, I love it. I love horror. I love all of that shit. I think that my love of horror partly became from R.L. Stine because I read Goosebumps books as a kid voraciously. My mom got me subscribed to the monthly thing where I would get like 2 or 3 books in the mail, and I just fucking blitzed through them. I think that has a lot to do with why I became a bookworm for a good chunk of my life. Unfortunately, I'm not anymore. But I think that's also why I love horror. I kind of want to see the new Terrifier movie, and I still have no. I did see 2. The first Terrifier, I like it because it's a love letter to 80s horror. Some of it's kind of bullshit because, like when he took a is it a hacksaw, like the long one?
I've never seen it, but let's see. You've got a hacksaw is just basically it's like a bandsaw almost, but
the hacksaw is the same thing that Carrie Elwes used in Saw, right?
Yeah.
So a hacksaw. So he took a hacksaw. He had a woman suspended upside down, legs out, and he took the hacksaw and cut all the way through. Which obviously that means he started with the most sensitive part first. And I'm just like, there's no fucking way that you would have gotten all the way through without breaking the blade. No fucking way. Especially the skull. But he did it. Terrifier 2, my only thing about that is that they started to make him more of like almost like a demon type thing, which I'm like, y'all are getting a little bit out there. The third one, I haven't seen it. I heard people walked out in the opening scene, to which it is, what's the word I'm looking for? It is gratuitously bloody and gory. So if you walk into the Terrifier 3 and you walk out in the opening scene, why? You know what you signed up for. That's like that's like if you go to see the fucking Final Destination and one of those deaths turns your stomach. It's what they do. But other than that, There's actually a bunch of horror stuff that I wanted to look up. I kind of meant to rewatch some of the Mike Flanagan shows on Netflix. I've mentioned it before. I love the show Follow the House of Usher. Um, I would argue that Mike Flanagan is as good at horror for shows as what James Wan is for movies. And for those of y'all who don't remember this, James Wan did the first Saw, which is easily the best one. He did the Conjuring movies. He wrote and directed the first two. He took a step back to do. He was a producer for the third one, and you can tell because there's a tonal shift. And he did the Insidious movies. James Wan is fucking good, and as good as he is at his movies, Mike Flanagan is just as good at television. He's fucking amazing at horror. Um, I don't get scared though. I will watch a horror movie and just go right the fuck to bed and sleep perfectly fine. Does that make me a psycho? I don't know, but I do.
Yeah. No. My favorite time of the year. Veils thin. For those of us that are in touch with spirits of nature. But going into horror, it's funny you mentioned the Terrifier. So my writing mentor, Tim Wagner, actually just had his novelization of Terrifier 2 released. I think it was like last week sometime, so about a couple days before the release of this newest movie. So he does have that out there, and he's writing a couple more. So if you're looking into great books, novels with horror and supernatural twists, definitely check out Tim Wagner. He has his own little blog called Writing in the Dark, and we'll put his information in here. But very good author, and he has written I think probably about 52, 54 different novels, all within horror genre and realm. So definitely check him out. I'm going to plug here friends of ours from B&G Cigar Lounge, my friend Enrique, who is host of the podcast Weekly Spooky. So if you're looking to keep up on any details of horror or Halloween or Samhain, anything related to that nature, definitely check out the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, the Weekly Spooky. But
that came right up. That came right
yeah.
up when I Googled it.
Yes. So friends of ours, you might see them on here from time to time. You might see us on there from time to time. Enrique and I talk about all this shit all the time. When he and I talk, we're just as random as Eli and I happen to be. So again, Tim Wagner, Writing in the Dark, and Enrique on the Weekly Spooky with Dave. So
I will say just to add on to that. So one thing I've talked to John about, the Carolina Storyteller. So there are actually a couple of books about just haunted areas here in Dayton.
Yeah.
I have
Max Tavern in Centerville is actually one of them.
Really? I didn't know that one. So I have a friend I used to work with. He actually did ghost hunting here. And so he actually loaned me the book, and there's a lot of them around here. So the community college Sinclair has two, to my knowledge. There's one in the theater department. They call him Hamlet. There's another one. I forget what building it is, but so allegedly you can hear a man and his donkeys or something like that. They drowned in the 19-something flood.
I want to say it's building 13 or building 11. I don't know. I had an art class in that building. Never heard. They were talking about that building. It's actually one of the buildings that's off the campus that's separate. I think it's like building 11 to building 12 or something like that.
Yeah. There's one supposedly at Stivers. My friend Will, he told me that him and some friends went up there to look for something and nothing ever happened. There's a couple at the cemetery, the one by UD, which it's a cemetery, of course there is. There's one story I thought was actually really cool. This guy allegedly saw his dead mother at the courthouse downtown, the one at 3rd and Main.
Oh, wow.
And if you don't know this, the gallows are still in the basement. So
if I ever am at the courthouse and I got a bailiff take me down to the basement, I should be concerned.
I would be. But I mentioned all this to say, like, I've been meaning to actually pick that book up, and I was talking to John about possibly, guesting on his podcast and telling one or maybe a couple of those different stories from the book. And I found another one while I was looking at it, and it's all just Dayton related shit. So some of those were actually pretty interesting. If you're listening, you can just search like just Dayton um, book, or actually, hang on, let me. So one of them was on Amazon, and there was another one that I saw somewhere
It's like,
else
is
entirely.
it Haunted Dayton or something like that?
I believe so. Oh, and there's also another one. It was included, but there's no actual stories about it. There's a golf course and they have something called the Witch's Tower. There's no actual stories about it, but it was just a cool inclusion. And there's 2 or 3 exhibits at the Air Force Museum.
Huh.
They have the old fighter plane now. Strawberry Bitch is out
Yeah.
there. They also
Hmm.
have an old or had an old Holocaust train car.
See, that one I could see being haunted. You know,
If anything's going to be haunted, it's going to be that fucking thing.
yeah. So back up Northeast Ohio, there's a reservoir called Berlin, and we used to go hang out there. There's a little thing called the Witches Graveyard, and it was seriously a graveyard. I don't know why it was called Witches Graveyard or whatnot, but it was one of those spots that it had like just chiseled into stones. It had like dates going back to like 1600s and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty neat and not so much haunted, but Nelson's Ledges had an area called the Devil's Icebox that was seemed to be about 10 degrees cooler than what it was actually everywhere else.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was just one of those things, but it has some nice carvings in the stone and stuff like that from way back when, from when whomever carved those in there walked this earth. So some pretty cool.
So
There's a lot of good. There's a lot of supposedly haunted spots up in the Northeast Ohio area as well.
this is one of the books. It, um, this is not the one that I read, but this one here called Dayton Ghosts and Legends. This is one of the ones I was thinking about picking up. I haven't read this particular one, but I would imagine there's probably some intersection between that and the one that I have read.
I think
Um,
there's a book called Haunted Ohio as well.
Probably.
So
Um, and I can name a bunch of other ones off the top of my head. I know that we have a restaurant on Valley Street called the Amber Rose, not related to the fucking celebrity who's famous for nothing. Um, but there's
I think
two there.
that restaurant was around before she was.
It was. So I just had to give that disclaimer.
There's actually supposed to be a haunted restaurant in Yellow Springs too.
Hmm.
I know I've had dinner in it, but I didn't know it was supposed to be haunted at the time, and I never come across anything like that. But that ends our catastrophe. Since we were speaking a lot about collaboration, Eli has been requested to actually do a blind react to a TikTok here on the podcast for everybody and for that individual. So as he pulls that up, I'm just going to fill time. Again, we mentioned Jonathan Phoenix from Valmont, the Black Raven Chronicles. We'll put his information in there. Again, Tim Wagner, writing in the dark and author of several novels. And my friend Enrique on the Weekly Spooky podcast. So if you get a chance and interested in anything that, definitely check them out. All very good content. And I'm pretty sure they have something that is right up your alley.
So again, I've mentioned this before. For those of y'all who don't know this, part of actually a lot of what keeps my TikTok account active is that people like to send me videos to blind react to. This one, somebody, Priscilla, was asking me to blind react because, she was asking me to do it a little bit sooner because, the election is in 2 weeks. So if this takes too long, it's going to lose relevance. So I figure we can go ahead and do this right now. Obviously, if you've not been living under a rock, I already know what rally this is coming from, but I have no fucking clue what we're in for. So we're gonna find this out together. Now, because of the way that I'm sharing this, you should also be able to hear it as well. So
My palms are sweating, knees weak.
hang on. That audio did not work the way I wanted it to, because that was coming from my computer and
I
not
can
my
hear
headphones.
it just fine.
Let me start that over.
My
You
palms
hear
are
it?
sweating, knees weak, arms are hurting, vomit on my sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, I'm nervous, but on the surface I'm at home and ready to drop bombs. But I keep on forgetting.
I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and
Okay.
upheld. So I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote, please. You can do anything you set your mind to, man.
What the fuck? All right. I don't know what that was at the end there.
That.
That was weird. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
It was Barack getting down with the beat, man.
But actually, you know what? That reminds me. So one thing I do want to throw in before we wrap up. So I have seen a lot of people on the internet just basically crying because Eminem did that rally. And I would like to point out he did a cipher with the BET Awards a few years ago. Now, I realize most of y'all don't watch the BET Awards because there's too many black people. But well, the people pissed off about it. But now the cipher that he did, lyrically, content was not that good. It wasn't supposed to be. It was more about the message. And he very blatantly said that he does not want Trump supporters as his fans. The lines he said verbatim is, any fan of mine who's a supporter of his, I'm drawing in the sand a line. You're either for or against. He told y'all 8 fucking years ago that if you're one of Trump's supporters, he doesn't want you as a fan. So if you just now found this out and you're just now getting pissy about this, that was on you for not paying fucking attention.
Yeah. I do remember that. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Again, if you're just going to look at it lyrically as a rap, as a freestyle, no, it really wasn't that good. But I don't think it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's Eminem. I mean, he can't be perfect all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been so much debate lately about how good he actually is. No, he's not as good as he used to be. But, that happens.
He's also 30 years older than he used to be.
I actually meant to go back and listen to his latest album because the more I heard about it is that it's a concept album where he is essentially killing his old persona. And you can see some of that in his song Houdini, because he even says something about, I wonder what the old me would say. It would probably say that everything is gay.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back because it sounds like he's taking you on a journey. At the beginning of the album, it's more like his old self. And by the end, he's like, yeah, I'm not that fucking guy anymore. At least that's the picture that was painted for me.
Yeah. And the thing is in roughly 30, 35 years, I mean, if you look at where Marshall Mathers had started and where he is at now, I mean, his daughter just got married. I believe she's about to make him a grandfather. He also has an adopted transgender child. One of his good friends is actually Sir Elton John. So the thing is like, and the thing is, whether you like him or you dislike him, you have to at least acknowledge the growth that the man has had over the last 30 years to become a better person. Because he even goes on and talks about, even in his, there's the one song he has to his daughter Haley, where he talks about, sorry, I couldn't be a father to you because I love the drugs and the alcohol more than and he comes out, he admits to his failures, he admits to his mistakes. And the thing is he still got people around him, his daughter, his family, aside from his mother, but you still got people around him who still support him, who are there for every step of the way to see him through it. And you can tell that he's grateful. You can tell that he is accepted. And the thing is he's probably a very humble person. I've never met the guy. I would really love to meet the guy, just sit down and be like, hey, thank you for the contributions you have made to the music world and, your art, because it's changed a lot of people. But the thing is, he's probably a very humble guy, when it's all said and done. So kudos to Marshall for the career you've had and for many more years to come. It's great to see you doing great things, and it's nice to see that you're on the right side of history.
Yeah, and anybody who is, I guess, upset or not even upset, if you just miss the old Eminem, we'll put it that way. So Charlemagne the God likes to reference a quote from Muhammad Ali. I'm mentioning Charlemagne the God because he's who I heard it from, but he always he credited Muhammad Ali with this. But a man who looks at the world at 50 years old the same way that he did at 20 years old has wasted 30 years of his life. So,
Yep.
yeah, Eminem's not the same guy. He's not fucking supposed to be. I'm not the same guy that I was 10, 15 years ago. You're supposed to get better. When you know better, you do better. That's what that means.
Yep. And on that note, don't forget to turn your clocks back this Sunday, daily
shit.
savings time. So this has been Men Behind the Curtain. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next Friday.
Have a good one, y'all.